Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my Gen X cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend. I am a proud Gen Xer.
We own our generation.
Yes. This is response to someone giving us a bad review, as they are wont to do, and I don't care. And people give us bad reviews all the time because they just don't like ladies with opinions. But somebody called us boomers, and I was like, "How dare you, sir? How dare you? Like, you've gone too far. I challenge you to a duel."
We're going to Hamilton this shit.
Yeah, this will not stand.
No.
We are
the podcast that talks about creeps from past to the present. We're talking about a very current creep, multiple versions of them today.
Fun.
But the other one of us, that would be Sonia, is actually going to be challenged to come up with a non-creep today, so you don't winding up feeling like the whole world's just gone to pot.
Yeah.
It has not. There's still great things happening in the world and great
Correct.
people in it. Anyway, you could find us on social media. We have a basic Facebook page. That's where people go to complain about our language usually. Or if I misname a Miss Jane Austen book, which I probably did. Sorry. We use salty language in this program.
fuck yeah.
We have a private Facebook group. That's where we're the most interactive. So just you have to answer a few questions. Somebody who identified themselves as a Vincent Gallo fan just tried to come in. I'm like, maybe you want to listen to the rest of the episode first before you join us.
No, that's exactly why they wanted to join us. They wanted to come and defend his honor.
We got a lot of great responses, by the way, last week to our whole episode all about method acting, which Sonia led and was excellent at.
Oh, thank you.
Let me give you all the social media call outs. We are on CreepPod on Twitter, X, or however long that shit exists. We are also on Threads and Blue Sky and Instagram.
Yep.
It's What a Creep Podcast. Yeah, please follow us in all those places. Or we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Send us your suggestions for creeps or for non-creeps. Or if you would like some stickers, we'd be happy to send you some stickers in the mail. Just give us your address and we will drop them in the mail for you. Sonia, do you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. You shouldn't be afraid to ask, but
Ever.
just in case, you could go there. There are links to all of our past episodes, and in each of those little posts are the show notes, because we source every single thing we do. We want to give everybody the credit that they deserve. If you're looking for a deeper dive on any of our creeps, that's a fabulous place to start. We also have a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks and mouse pads and mugs and whatever you want with our logo. We've got some like fun designs in there, some that say like not a creep or the high road could get fucked, whatever you want. It's all there. There's also a link
Something for everyone.
Something for everyone. There is a link to our Substack where I publish a monthly newsletter. It is free. You could just do that. And there's a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Patreon, if you want to support the show. And I'd like to thank Andy and Annie for joining recently.
Woo.
We put up our first 8 seasons up on that Patreon wall. We put out 2 bonus episodes a month as well. And as Sonia says, we use the money basically just to keep the show going. Maybe I need to brush up on my Austen. I mixed it up with one of the Brontes, perhaps.
I'm almost
It's
positive.
a J.D. Salinger episode, yes.
Yeah, I'm almost positive if you'd done that, I would have caught it, because Jane Austen is one of the people I actually read and know a little something about. But But maybe I missed it. Maybe I did.
Yeah, because we're human beings, y'all. We need to
What?
make that absolutely clear. Also, by the way, you can join the Patreon feed for free. You
Yes.
absolutely can, because we do post clips on there,
Yes.
because sometimes our clips aren't allowed on Facebook, or they're not allowed on TikTok for whatever fracocta reason. Also, because of our other show called Dorking Out, we put some clips there as well. So don't be shy, just sign up and check it out if you're interested. But thank you to Andy and Annie for doing so. Am I forgetting anything, Sonia?
I don't think so. I think that's everything. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot to digest, isn't it?
It is a lot.
This is kind of a creepy story that we have today. It's my Stefan thing. This story has everything. It's got Kanye. It's got metal. It's got anti-Semitism. It's a guy that hates every religion. It's everything.
Yay!
It's a big bucket of creepage. We're going to try to keep it light as we can, even though, look, it's a serious topic and there's a lot happening in the world.
Yes.
I'd like to think that Hitler was a total shithead, and everyone would agree upon that. I would like to think that.
Yeah. Apparently, there are people who disagree with that. And
We think they're creeps.
Yeah.
And Holden Caulfield, by the way, was a real fucking creep. I stand by that.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a story. I know we get a lot of requests for Yi. Mm-hmm. He is a colorful figure. We also get people, we all have told the same story. Like, he was diagnosed with being manic depressive.
Yeah.
Bipolar, excuse me. That's the more current term. My mother had that. That's what they used to call it back in the day.
Yes.
And when she went through the change, it was really fun. That on top of that. But my mom would just redecorate. Like all of a sudden she would just buy a bunch of stuff and then get in a room and redecorate and then lose interest 3/4 in and then go someplace else.
Yeah, that she wasn't hurting.
She didn't attack a whole group of people.
Yes.
No. She didn't say racist shit. She didn't attack people. She didn't make my dad walk around in his underwear, in public. I mean, there's just odd things that he's done. Yeah. And there's only so much you can say is a mental illness. And is it really more just his personality that we're thinking out about? He's married right now to a woman he has an album coming out, Sonia.
Oh, that's why I'm seeing him everywhere again. Okay.
Yes. And so he's in that mode where and he has 30 million followers on X, Twitter, same on Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how many on YouTube. He has 60 million listeners on Spotify. We have to talk about something that he's done because he does have a huge audience.
Yes.
And people sometimes just don't know better.
Yeah.
I think some kids back in the day used to wear a Manson t-shirt just because they're oh, well, he looks kind of nutty.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely something they do. They wear, I was thinking of the Manson shirts or shit, the other one just totally escaped me. Anyway.
Che Guevara?
Yeah, that one. But they don't even know what it means,
Right.
and we're not, I don't want to be shitty and about the people that wear Nirvana shirts and then you're name a Nirvana song. It's fuck those people. But when you're wearing something like that,
it's a symbol of something really dark and terrible
that maybe some people aren't aware of. So that's why I like that you're talking about what you're talking about, because some people don't know. They just don't know. They just think it's a shirt with a person on it. They don't even know it's a real thing. We're
going to get into all of it. But I want to say I'm glad you brought up Nirvana because there was a show, and I can't even remember the name of it, but a few years ago they had an episode and it was about Kurt Cobain. And, there's all that. How did he actually die? Was it murder? Did he die by suicide? And right. And the show started out with the youngest person on the show, and they probably were really, really young. But at one point they're like, did you know that Dave Grohl was the drummer for Nirvana? And then I literally went, nope. And I turned it off because it's just going to annoy me. And look, we're 50-something Gen Xers. To me, of course, I know who Dave Grohl is and where he comes from. Maybe to somebody 25, that is new.
Yeah, well, there's the people that watch Schitt's Creek, and they're like, did you know that that's Kevin Allister's mom from Home Alone? I'm like,
oh, my God.
I'm old.
So we know that there are ye experts, which we're not. There's
Correct.
also people who are metal experts, which we're not.
Correct.
I'm also not an expert on Norwegian history.
No?
No, I don't even know how to say it in Norwegian. We're just two friends getting together for a conversation. Yeah. We back up with our source material. Yes. I'm going to be as accurate as I can, but it's more conversational.
Yeah.
Than me just reading a Wikipedia page. Yes. Okay. So please understand that. Like, we're trying to.
We're figuring it out. We're telling a story context and talking about it. There.
I first want to ask you.
Yeah.
And something you may know about Sonia and I, if you listen to our other show, is like, one of us is really a rock chick and one of us is really a pop chick.
Yeah.
Guess who? Guess who?
The one with all the color or the one in black?
Yes.
You figure it out.
It's very much like Wednesday Addams and Enid. Like, yes. That's the way we interact. So I'm going to talk a little bit about metal music because, all right, and there's another thing. Metal music, people are really into metal.
Sure.
Like metal. And they're very specific about the kinds. Mm-hmm. And the favorite conversation I've discovered with metal people, like who's metal and who's not metal. And they will, it's like verbal fights.
I
Van Halen is not metal. See, it's hard rock.
That's it's the same in every kind of genre of music. You could talk about like what is considered rap and what is hip hop.
Yes.
Is that really hip hop or is it pop? Is it like all of it? All of it.
People like baseball, people like history, people like all, so please keep that in mind. We're just trying to keep,
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, if you ask me about metal, I would say that late 60s Black Sabbath is like the first big band that was metal. It's beyond hard rock. Like they're really digging into there's Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But Zeppelin's really into drugs and sex. Like Black Sabbath, I'm not sure what they're into, but they have witches in their songs and stuff like that. So it's dark. It's heavy.
I will say as a young person, let me rephrase it because I'm Gen X. As a younger person in the 70s and 80s, I would see like t-shirts or album cover art for bands like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and then a little later, Metallica. Just the artwork scared the shit out of me.
And they thrilled me. So that's like the difference.
No, I was like, that looks really scary. Like, especially like, I think Metallica had one that said something about like metal up your ass. And it was like a knife on a toilet. And I was like, that's terrible. No, thank you. And then meanwhile, I'm listening to Two Live Crew. Hey, we want some pussy. What a dope.
We're all into our things. We're all into the we have reasons for our things. So metal is a pretty new music. It's probably as old. It's like just a little bit older probably than hip hop. Let me put it that way. But throughout the 80s, there was this kind of change. MTV comes along. You can really find your subculture. You can find your people, those free magazines people made for zines, people made for each other. And so it's very much like Iron Maiden is metal and this is not, and Bon Jovi sucks. And it's like a very male, usually white male
it's
thing.
True. Yeah.
We're talking about a country, Norway, which has it's the land of the ice and snow. It's Vikings. It looks like I want to say Land of the Lost. What am I saying? Lord of the Rings. It's like got that ethereal kind of beauty about it. You know how much I love Let the Right One In. I know that's Sweden, but still, it's that part of the world that it's very cold.
Yes,
at certain times of the year, it doesn't get a lot of sunlight. You hear a lot about depression that people get because there's not as much sunlight.
Yes.
It's very socialist. People can get 10 weeks vacation and their health care is paid for and everybody goes to school because it's paid for.
Terrible.
Everyone's good looking. I know. But they've had stuff happen there as well. And we'll just talk about a little bit of that. But let's go to Kanye, and I used to love Kanye's music. I loved his Stronger and all that.
So funny you say that. Stronger was my favorite.
Oh my! I would play that over.
Me too. Woo! I
need you
so
right
much.
now.
Yeah, I was into it. I was so into it, and of course, like, he has his hardcore fans, and like that album. I think he won like a ton of awards.
He's
for
won
it.
24 Grammys
Yeah, he's won
altogether.
He's won a lot of stuff. He's very popular. That song is dope. Yeah, but he's problematic as fuck right now.
He divorced Kim Kardashian and then got married pretty quickly after that. And his new spouse is, I guess, like his muse. He's somebody that he likes to put in very revealing clothing. I mean, revealing. I sound like I'm 80 there, but walking around in a thong and a dog leash or something.
Yeah.
Like it's out there.
Yeah.
And he has this new album coming out, and he posed with it's a mega. I'll read it later, but anyway, he's posing in a t-shirt, and it's like his muzzle is like it's like this vulture. Excuse me, it's this new thing he's going to do, and he's posing. Let me say this. Kanye West Ye is a one-person horrible public relations machine.
True.
If it's not his ego, the misogyny, the bad music, and he's had some really bad music, and or the public ranting, you can always count on him to praise people like Adolf Hitler. And Elon Musk, who just had to go to Auschwitz recently to... Oh boy.
Or Trump.
In this episode, we talk about his latest stunt that sent shockwaves, wherein he wore a T-shirt for a Norwegian death metal band called Burzum, showing he hasn't learned anything since the last time he acted up. And he said a lot of anti-Semitic things. Mm-hmm. He went on a rant during Hanukkah, I believe it was. And then a couple of days after, he put up in Hebrew, I'm sorry, my bad.
So fucking bullshit and performative. Like, he doesn't care.
Performative is an excellent word.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
So sources for this up, and all the links are in our show notes, which you can get from your apps, any podcast apps, or at our site. Vulture, El País, The Guardian, Blabbermouth, New York Post, Daily Mail, and we always mention the podcast Daily Fail when we use the Daily Mail because they are right occasionally, but most of the time they suck. Wikipedia for Varg Vikernes, who's really our creep today. XXL Magazine and New York Times The Daily, which is a podcast where they talked about Kanye and his Adidas deal. And he made, by the way, a shitload of money for Adidas. Mm-hmm. And for a couple of years. And he had like shoe of the year for one of his sneakers. But they were based in Berlin. And he actually like told them to praise Hitler. And he just had it was very bizarre.
Yeah. And guess like Trevor Noah talks about this in his new comedy special about the lengths that Germany has gone to show everyone how far they've come from Hitler, like the removing of statues, changing the anthem. Like, they don't pretend it didn't happen. They acknowledge what happened, but for him to to go there and say those things is fucking garbage on many levels. First of all, just to say those things, to go to Germany and say it, where all these people are actively trying to like show people that that's not who they are.
It's a beautiful city to live in. It's very multicultural. It's one of the top places where people want to live because you could raise a family there and it's really safe. Mm-hmm. And there is so much to be offered. And German bread's supposed to be the greatest bread in the whole world. But he made a ton of money for Adidas. It's very hard to break into the sneaker market, and he did. And he was very creative. He's a super creative person. I give him that.
Yeah.
But anyway, trigger warnings for this episode: anti-Semitism, suicide, and murder. So he was posing with JPEG Mafia, and he was wearing this T-shirt, and it's a black metal. I said death metal, but it's kind of... The word's kind of interchangeable because there's some bands that kind of do sing about death.
Yeah.
But his name is Varg Vikernes. He was a pagan and a neo-Nazi, and he served time in prison for killing a colleague of his, somebody that he worked in the community.
He's got it all.
He's a real treat. He's a real gent, everybody. Mm-hmm. So we'll first talk about, like, there's that death metal scene. And then in the late 80s, there's a band called Mayhem, and it's Norwegian. It's by Oslo.
Okay.
And the bands, they all changed their names, and it's very hard to keep up personally with all the names. Because, like, seriously, our guy today is Varg Vikernes. He's also Count Grishnak. There's also Griffey Grishnak, the Count, Grevin, Gandalf the White. Louis Cachet is his first name. Val. He's like, he goes by a whole bunch of names, and there's a guy named Euronymous, and there's a guy named Dead. And Dead was the singer for Mayhem, and they formed in '88. And Mayhem, man, they had like the painted faces, and metal music is like very fast and hard charge. And
with the painted faces, do you mean like Kiss, like that kind
evil?
of okay.
No, more like the guy that like keeps the Saw guy that keeps people in their basement. Jigsaw, is that who he's called?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's dark, or the Babadook, maybe sort of like that. Yeah, these kids they'll probably think like Metallica are a bunch of pussies. Like, what are they even singing about? Like, we're singing about real shit. Unfortunately, Dead, Per Ying Pele Olin. He was a Swedish musician. He died by suicide, and he had a mental health disorder, which is when you're kind of disassociated from your body. And I think Bowen Yang talked about this.
I just making that connection in my head. Yeah, sounds scary.
It's very scary because you just don't even see yourself as an alive person. Yeah. It's like you go through the motions and you're trying to connect with people. And I think it must be really, interesting to like just take on a persona and just be something else altogether. But you can forget about yourself in that process. And it's a very scary diagnosis to have.
Yes.
And you have to take it really, really seriously. Right. So Dead was his name. That's what the name he went by, and he was obsessed with death, and he died by suicide. And Euronymous was a band member, and he also, neo-Nazis, these guys, cool. He saw his friend, and the band's called Mayhem once again, and he took pictures of his friend, Dead, who was dead. And he used it as album artwork.
No.
And yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
I'm doing the thumbs down.
And yeah, it's Cotard syndrome, a delusional denial of existence. Olin used that nickname because he considered himself to be dead. So he's dead. And Euronymous took his photos, and then Euronymous used those for album covers, which is upsetting to his family and friends
just
and other people.
Just a little bit.
It's just a bit. So he starts a record label, and he has a record shop in Oslo, and that's where we have Varg Vikernes, who's really, I mean, there's also another thing. Like, he's handsome, he looks totally normal, but he's in this death metal thing as well. And he and this other guy kind of have this beef about music, that money that he's owed for the music from his band, Burzum. Burzum? I don't know. Burzum? I don't know. Sure. I'm American.
Sure.
So he goes to his apartment, Varg, and he stabs him to death.
Oh, shit.
And gets away, and thought he would get away with it, except for those pesky cops in Oslo who found him. Around this same time, and I'll say something about Varg in his childhood, is that he was born in Norway. I'm sorry. Yes, Bergen, Norway. And then when he was a kid, his dad was transferred to Baghdad, Iraq.
Oh.
This is the late 70s.
Okay. Yeah.
He was born 1973.
Nothing going on there. Totally fine.
His dad was working for Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And so there's like some nasty stuff going on there. And Varg went to school, all of a sudden going from Norway to Baghdad at that time.
Culture shock, to say the least.
Culture shock, and had heard some very anti other people than white kind of rhetoric in his home, and would come home and said that there were racial matters. It was an English school in Baghdad, and that the teacher would call him names but would never hit him because he was white, but he would hit the other kids.
Oh.
And his dad one day was Varg also had a swastika flag in his home. And his dad was like, "What's that about?" He's like, "I don't know. It's just kind of being a thing that I'm into." But
It's just a thing I'm into. No big deal.
no big.
little
They had a
phase.
lot of. His parents would say things like, "Don't bring home a black girl," stuff like that. He goes back to his parents split up, and then he goes back to Norway, and he gets into Iron Maiden, and he was into Venom and all this other black metal stuff, and also Tolkien. So,
Oh, yeah,
it's
that
like these
explains the
mixture.
name.
So he joins Mayhem, and then he quits the band after the suicide of Dead.
Okay.
Okay. He stabs Euronymous to death. At the same time, in 1992, there is a whole tidal wave of arsons against churches in Norway, because there are people that he's not even just against the Jews, not just against Muslims, Islam,
Right.
Christianity. He has a huge problem with.
Yeah, me too, but I
Because-
don't burn shit.
I don't burn shit either, but it's more about like, how dare they desecrate our land with these churches? So there's this whole issue of churches being burned down.
Yeah.
Also, there's also the idea of Satanism, and that Satanism being a real religion and not just kind of a goof.
Yeah.
Like Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue. Like, they really take Satan seriously. So, behaving like a murderous asshole is just kind of like what you do. It's just kind of like going along.
Yeah.
If you type black metal into WhatsApp, or you type it into a GIF, like, Varg shows up. And he's got the long hair and the eyes and everything.
All right. I'm going to go look right now, but please continue.
Okay. So Varg goes to trial, and he would smile at the cameras. He just acted like it was all a big goddamn joke.
Gross.
And he is sentenced to prison for 21 years in 1994
Ew.
for stabbing a person to death. Yeah.
Ew. Hard
Yeah.
pass. Gross. 0 stars.
And Sonia, no like. When he's in prison, he writes 3 books. Prison in Norway. So I want to talk about the convicted. There was a murder in 2011. This is so horrible. It was in Oslo, and there was kids at a camp,
Yes.
and
okay, I
a guy
remember this.
showed up and was bombing the place and stalking people. He killed 69 people, which does not happen in that part of the world. Like, it's very, very rare.
Happens every day here in the United States, but in other parts of the world, no, not so much.
And his name is Anders Breivik. I'm sorry, that's how I'm pronouncing it. And it says here's a story from 2022 in Norway. He spends his day in a spacious 3-room cell playing video games, exercising, watching TV, and taking university-level courses in mathematics and business.
Wow.
Because he plans to get out in 2032. And that's just the way...
Dude
Look,
is
I don't like our
living
criminal
in
justice...
a 3-bedroom apartment, basically. In a 3-room apartment. Just chilling. Just killing
Chilling
time.
like a villain.
Oh, man. That is bananas.
When he was giving his manifesto before he committed his atrocities, he mentioned Varg
course
and Varg's lyrics and Varg's... Yeah. So Varg is in prison, and he's, writing books, and he's just giving his ideas about how he feels about the world and how he's against, he's anti. he's a nationalist. He's about,
Oh,
I just
cool.
like
My
promoting my race. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And he at one point, he has to be transferred in prison because he starts getting people interested. Well, he gets like a lot of people interested in him as a, his philosophies. It's so fucking dumb.
It's so dumb.
But it's like, people write to prisoners and they get married. Like,
Yes.
people have this. He was transferred from a maximum security prison to a minimum one in 2003. And then he almost hijacked a car. There was a car that was going to come out and like bust him loose. But he serves his time and he gets out. He served his, he gets out in May of 2009.
Yeah. Did he do a season of Love After Lockup or anything like that that I could watch?
He always denies that he was a part of the church burnings, but his attitude sort of like, but I understand it, and but I don't know anybody was a part of it. So he's very super right wing. He moves to France and he gets married because a sweetie like that can't stay off the market for long.
No, I mean,
and he's up there for people like me that are like.
Signed up for the new
like,
dating app Cinder and hooked up right away.
There's a problem in France too with some racial
For sure.
hatred going on in certain parts of the country there. But he meets his wife, and he also, by the way, he's big into saying, I've never had a drop of alcohol, I've never done a drug, I don't use any pharmaceuticals at all.
Oh, that's too bad.
And
Have
those
a,
are
have a
always
drink,
those
asshole.
wound up people. Yes,
Have a drink, prick.
have a spleef. That will calm your ass down because he's, like I said, he's inciting. He gets arrested and in charge with inciting racial hatred against Jews and Muslims in France, but he's found not guilty. He's writing all this stuff from prison. These books are passed around to people. They're sorcery and religion in ancient Scandinavia. I mean, there's just all kinds of like, but Burzum is the album that he's known for and the band he's known for, excuse me. And Burzum is a very specific looking logo, like logos are, but their font and everything like that and the imagery in black and white and it's spooky. And that's the shit that Kanye is imitating in his new record. By the way, his views are called odalism, which is paganism, traditional nationalism, racialism, and environmentalism. He advocates social conservatism, simple living, and self-sufficiency. He had millions of fans on Twitter, and he and his wife, he has 7 kids, by the way. Like, they made up for lost time.
Damn.
He would talk about, like, how they had a porta potty. They had, like, a outhouse in their backyard, and he just changed it a couple of times a day. Just says you put some, sticks in the back there, and that just takes up all the smell. He's just totally into this. He believes in that there's a Jewish conspiracy. He condemned Breivik first, the guy that committed those atrocities, because he was a Christian loser. Like, he didn't have a problem with him killing people. It's the fact that he was
loser.
Right. So the fact that this is a guy that Kanye is wearing on his shirt is
deliberate.
Saying that it's co-signing.
Yeah.
You are saying something. Look, this is America. He can wear whatever the hell he wants.
Yes.
He's not going to get arrested. But you don't put out a statement in Hebrew talking about how bad you feel for the multiple times you said incredibly anti-Semitic things, that you put people in very awkward positions. He has a lot of power with his celebrity, and he would show up at these meetings at Adidas and just like ask people to do things like look at that picture of Hitler and see if that inspired, like
so
shit like that.
Fucked up.
It's so fucked up.
These people who say these things and do these things, people like Kanye or Ye, whatever. Sorry, he's going by Ye now. Like, with their following, saying these things. It's not just well, he can feel how he wants to feel. He's literally endangering people's lives.
Right.
By talking like this and stoking those kinds of flames of hatred. Like, people take what he says seriously. Like, you and I could sit here and be like, fuck that guy, what an asshole. But there's somebody else who's like, I think he's right. And they might act on it. You know?
And how bad is this Burzum guy anyway? And it's like, I don't know, he stabbed somebody to death. He hung out with a group of people that were arsonists, that were racist, that were, it's awful thing and embracing. And like, Kanye, you're black. This man does not think very much of you.
Yeah.
He might be like, oh, thanks for wearing my shirt. But it's like, what are you winning by wearing the shirt?
I don't know what he thinks he's winning. I mean, because I don't understand the mindset. But what a fucking creep. Both of them. Fucking creeps.
Both of them are. So anyway, Varg changed his name to Louis Cachet to avoid difficulties with the public. By the way, he also, many times they would say, he put these blog posts up and saying horrible things. And then the police would come in and be like, well, it's me. I have like 300 people pretending to be me. I can't be responsible for that. I mean, he's also a liar. But Kanye, in the meantime, is also, and look, I don't know what relationship he has with his wife. It could be very much a dom sub thing, and it's totally consensual. Yeah. I don't know, but it's weird. Mm-hmm. It's very weird. But he's in promotion mode.
Yes.
And he's really trying to get attention right now. So, it's one of those reasons, like 112, we have to watch after Kanye.
Yeah.
But that's kind of our creepy story this week. It's Kanye West's T-shirt, Burzum, Varg, and all these other assholes. And sorry to Dead's family, that must have been horrifying.
And that's how Varg became Trump's VP pick.
Euronymous and Dead, sorry, both of them. I'm sorry for their families, but yeah, this is super fucked up.
Yeah, good job, my friend.
Thank you. I could have gone deeper, but to be honest, like, this kind of metal music,
yeah,
even people who like it and are just trying to report in the news, this is what happened. There's a little bit of a fetishism for things that I think are really uncomfortable. So
yeah,
I kind of had to keep like an arm's length away. But that's it. If you're hearing like the latest Kanye West thing and all that shit.
Yeah, and just I'm like, as he like starts making his rounds and like promoting his things, I'm like, just be careful. Like, there's something else going on here. Like, he's, like you said, he's struggling with some mental illness. Like, I don't know, man.
He also, by the way, and he is, but that doesn't give you free reign to just say whatever the hell you want, or there's just no consequences if you do something provocative.
Yes.
Then you're going to provoke.
Yes.
He also fixed his teeth with $850,000 titanium dentures, but supposedly didn't have his teeth taken out. He just has those like on top. I don't know. Like an Invisalign, but with titanium.
All right. Good for you, RoboCop.
But if you're interested in diving deeper, by the way, also back to Varg, just real quick.
Yes.
He was supposedly the person that formed Heathen Front, which is a neo-Nazi organization that believed odalism, promoted anti-Semitic and white supremacist views, and fuck this guy.
Seriously, fuck
Getting
this
him
guy.
off my computer. I hope it didn't ruin my YouTube feed. Trying to look up stuff.
Dude, mad props to you putting that in your Google search history. Like, if anything ever happens to me, my sister, Michelle, I know you're listening. Please come delete my Google search history.
Yes, exactly.
No, it was for the podcast. I swear. Do you want to hear about someone who's not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. I decided to find myself a rocker chick, if you will, that I thought would fall into this category. So do you know who Jennifer Finch is?
Tell me.
No, all right. She is a musician, a designer, a photographer, and she was the bass player for the punk band L7.
Oh, L7.
Yes. So if you listen to 90s grunge, you probably know, like, Pretend We're Dead. Like, that was L7's, like, big hit. I know them because of that song, but also my buddy Corso, who Margot knows, and I used to share an office at one point. And whenever people would piss us off, we would play the song Shit List, and it was on heavy rotation in our office. So if you're ever looking for a song to rage with, Shit List, thumbs up. Finch was born August 5th, 1966. She grew up in Los Angeles. In 81, around age 13, she got a film camera and she began taking pictures. She took a lot of pictures of like hardcore punk art shows, the queer scene, performance art, like skating events, all this stuff in like the 80s, early 90s. Her photography has been on display at like an art show at the Aidan Riley Taylor Gallery in Hollywood. She's also some of those photographs, they're inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because she's taken photos of like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bad Religion, the Cramps. Like she has like all this amazing photography that she has taken over the years because she's mingled with like everyone in rock in the 80s and 90s. So like she took all those pictures, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Bad Religion, Cramps, all that stuff. She started playing music and writing, producing, performing in a band called Sugar Babylon, and just a little someone named Courtney Love was in that band.
Heard her.
Yes. And then another woman named Kat Bellajand, I think is how you pronounce it. And then she joined L7 in 86. L7 in the 90s created a concert series called Rock for Choice. And for 10 years, they did benefit concerts for pro-abortion rights groups and abortion access organizations, raising ton of money for those. And it's a bunch of bands you probably never heard of. It's like Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam, Liz Phair, Iggy Pop, Radiohead, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots. Oh, and a little band called Salt and Peppa.
Pip.
Push it real good. She left L7 in 96, and then she actually started working in tech. She became like a very early adopter of WordPress. This is bananas to me. Like she was like a WordPress expert. She got back into music in the early 2000s. She joined a band called The Shocker, and they played on like the Warped Tour. And she also, Shocker released an album, by the way, called Up Your Ashtray. Just made me laugh. She produced a Ramones tribute album called Brats on the Beat, and all the money went to St. Jude's Church Research Hospital. It's all like kid-friendly versions of the Ramones, like songs sang by kids.
Beat on the brat. Beat on the brat.
Yes.
Beat on the brat with the baseball bat.
Yes. I'm like, that's adorable.
Yes.
She got back together with L7 in 2014. They've been touring again, and you could like go to her website and like see that they're still touring. And she blogs. She's been blogging for like a gazillion years. Again, early adopter of WordPress. So like you can go on and like read stuff where she's like, oh, don't forget, we're going to be on the Jon Stewart show. And that's just from the 90s when Jon Stewart had a talk show on MTV. Like it's kind of a trip. So on top of all of that, she's also like completing an undergraduate degree at Antioch University in Applied Arts and Media. And she says she thinks a lot about the connections between, and this is a quote, end stage capitalism, equality, feminism, post-industrialism, punk, and your mom. And that's our non-creep, Jennifer Finch.
I love her. She's one of us.
She is one of us. One of us.
One of us. One of us. Well, if you like the sound of our voices, and by golly, why would you stay around this long if you didn't like the sound of voices? We co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. Sonia, what are we going to be dorking out about next?
Just some movie called Airplane from 1990. Margot posted it in the Facebook group, and people have been lighting it up. Like, people are so excited. I'm really excited. I haven't watched it in a really long time. I don't know how we're going to talk about this movie, like, because you don't run through the plot on this movie. It's jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes. It's going to be a really good conversation, though, because I guarantee there are jokes that have not aged well.
Yeah, well, they were sort of splatter on the wall kind of method of telling jokes, but there's so many visual jokes that are like just as funny as what people say. My favorite is when the newsmen run into the phone booth and then it just like falls over.
I can't even tell you how many. There are jokes in there that are just like, they're burned in my brain. Like, I can't forget them even if I tried.
I liked one of our members said that their mom's name is Shirley and her life has been hell since 1980 because people say, Shirley, you can't be serious.
Poor woman. So that's what we're doing next.
So please follow us on all the places I mentioned at the top of the show. We love when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one for, your creep or your non-creep, or just be creative. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show everywhere. Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, all the places you can find me there. Where can people find you?
You could find me at Brooklyn Margot in most places. Also, my site is actually Brooklyn Fit Chick, and that's where I am for Threads and Instagram. On TikTok, I do have some clips of Airplane, and people love that. I don't have any clips of Varg because Varg can go fuck himself at this
seriously.
point. Yeah,
gross.
Not promoting him. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with a new episode. In the meantime, stay safe, be good, don't be a creep.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.